We need money to pay for things, and you can't do it if you give everybody a tax cut.
I'm actually a social worker, so I believe in helping poor people get educated. I mean, it's been tough. Like, you can't really compare the two because it's been different things going on. I mean, I'm not going to say that Biden is...
Everything is mess now, so that's why.
To be honest, I'm so busy. I don't really watch the news, but I try to watch.
Better, like, civilization and a leader that has those qualities.
Doesn't know anything about politics whatsoever. It's only interest in everything.
Climate change is a big one for me. And
The people who are able to get away with it, they get the abortions. But the people who don't have the money to support a kid or don't have the money to...
Don't nobody really know about all the money that was supposed to be sent over there.
Hey guys, my name is Alessi. Welcome to this channel. This is a documentary lifestyle channel with the focus on telling the stories of real people. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, thank you for subscribing and checking out all these videos. My goal is to be an alternative to the mainstream media. And today I went to the largest city in the swing state of Pennsylvania, that is Philadelphia. And I decided to ask the locals there who they are voting for in the upcoming election. So we investigate to figure out the truth of what is actually being told about this city rather than listening to what we hear in the mainstream media. So thank you again, and if you want to stay truly informed, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the video.
Who are you voting for?
Kamala Harris,
And why?
because she agrees with me on everything I care about.
What are the things you care about?
The environment, choice, helping working people, and she's not a racist.
How would you describe the last 4 years of Biden compared to the last 4 years of Trump?
Biden's done a good job. Trump was a disaster.
And your number one policy concern, what would that be?
The economy and not giving money away to rich people.
Okay, so in terms of the economy, it's giving money away to the rich people, or what about the economy worries you?
We need money to pay for things, and you can't do it if you give everybody a tax cut. I don't need a tax cut. And people who make a lot more than me don't need a tax cut.
And you would say that is a big reason for what exactly?
Well, that's one reason I'm supporting her, is that her economic policies are more geared towards working people. His are geared towards billionaires. I'm only one of those.
Who are you voting for?
Kamala Harris.
Why?
I've been a lifelong Democrat. I would never vote for a Republican. They don't align with my views.
What are those views that they don't align with?
Women's rights. I'm actually a social worker, so I believe in helping poor people get educated and get their feet off the ground. And I just don't believe in helping out millionaires when we have a lot of poor people in our country.
What would you say is your number one policy concern in this upcoming election?
It's probably women's rights at this point in time. I feel like it's been not that in past years, but yeah, we have to vote to protect ourselves.
What about women's rights is your concern specifically?
I mean, Roe v. Wade was a big thing, and I just can't imagine having Trump in the White House again. I feel like it'd be detrimental to all of us. Yeah, I work at a hospital, and I see how this affects people on a daily basis, whether it's healthcare, not just women's rights, but also just like healthcare in general. Something else that I always think about is just the Affordable Care Act and how he wants to reduce Social Security benefits, Medicaid benefits, and it's just doesn't make any sense, doesn't help us out. So.
Do you think Trump's a threat to democracy?
Of course I do. He's been a threat to democracy since he ran the first time.
So I've heard that a bunch. When people say that, like, what do you mean by that exactly when they say like a threat to democracy?
I mean, he controls things that he shouldn't have control over. We're a democratic nation, and we should have the ability to choose what we're going to do. Especially with our healthcare. He doesn't even know what the hell is going on when it comes to abortion, so there's no reason he should be deciding over it.
How would you compare the last 4 years of Biden compared to the last 4 years of Trump?
I mean, it's been tough. Like, you can't really compare the two because it's been different things going on. I mean, I'm not going to say that Biden is my favorite person in the whole wide world. I don't believe what's going on in Gaza is correct, or how we're funding wars. But I think I was mentally in a very bad place when Donald Trump was our president, and I never want to go back there.
Is it fair to say you got the Trump derangement syndrome?
Yes. I looked at my friends. I was like, I actually mentally cannot handle another Trump presidency. I can't do it. Literally can't do it. It's toxic, and I feel people that vote for him don't actually know what the hell's going on. Especially if you're poor or if you're of color, I don't think that they actually understand what he wants to just make his friends rich and screw everybody else and the climate and the environment and the world.
Who are you voting for in this next election?
Trump.
Why?
You know about how messed now. That's why.
Because what?
How mess everything is mess now. So that's why.
Why is it a mess?
I don't know, but I'm seeing that like everything is going, the rates are going so high. So that's why.
How would you compare the last 4 years of Biden to the last 4 years of Trump?
I cannot.
But what makes you so gung-ho on voting for Trump versus Harris?
I don't know anything about that, but I like Trump, so that's why.
Who are you voting for?
Donald Trump,
Why?
because he holds no bars with his words.
What is the number one policy concern for you?
Civilian safety.
What about civilian safety?
I just don't feel like the civilians are gonna be safe with Kamala as president. I'm not gonna lie. I think she be lying, and I feel like even though Donald Trump have his way, he not lying about nothing that he said.
So
Everything he says come from his heart, and he really don't care how he say it, who hear it, and who it bother, because that's him.
So you say because you like how unfiltered he is, he speaks his mind?
The way he wants to, and that's the reason why I would vote for Donald Trump.
How would you compare the last 4 years of Biden to the last 4 years of Trump?
Everything was hidden, just like I feel like it's gonna be with Kamala.
The last 4 years of Biden, you felt like it was they were hiding.
I feel like Biden, everything that happened over in UK, what was it, Ukraine war? Don't nobody really knows what happened. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody really know about all the money that was supposed to be sent over there, all the supplies and stuff that was supposed to be sent over there, if it actually got to them. Nobody really know that. So I feel like they got so much stuff under the table, and they put so much other stuff in forefront to just like throw off what's actually really happening.
So because of the lies that this last administration have done, it's pushed you to want to vote for Trump. Did you vote for Trump in the last election?
No, I didn't vote for nobody in the last election, actually.
So this year you feel compelled to vote?
A little bit, just because, again, like I said, he hold no bars. So whatever he gonna do, he gonna say it. And it's not gonna be a hidden factor. Like, everybody's gonna know his decision. And that's the only reason why.
Do you know a lot of people like yourself who didn't vote the last election who's now voting for Trump?
No, because I feel like the people now voting for Trump because he gave them money. But I'm voting for Trump just because of his emotional realist to me. Like, he's an emotional realist. So whatever he feel on his heart, he's just gonna put it out there for everybody to hear and not really actually care about how anybody feels. He's not gonna hold his talk.
Who are you voting for in this next election?
Harris.
Why?
Well, number one, I think that she can do a better job, and I feel like it's time for a woman.
And in terms of policy, what's your number one policy concern?
Well, I'm all about equality, and I feel like so is she. Just everybody having rights for whatever that they believe in.
And then the last 4 years of Biden compared to the last 4 years of Trump, what stands out to you?
The economy, I guess, is the best thing that I could say for that. The unemployment rates have dropped, so that's a good thing.
And then economy, are you tying that with the unemployment rates or?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then in terms of where you get your news sources, where do you get informed?
To be honest, I'm so busy that I don't really watch the news, but I try to watch both outlets just so that I can hear both sides of everything and make an informed decision on my own.
What both outlets? What do you mean by that? It's like mainstream or alternative podcasts?
No, well, I mean, I listen to MSNBC and then I also listen to Fox to get both sides of the story, and then world news.
Hey guys, I don't mean to interrupt the video, however, I'm excited to announce I have started my own personal community page. So for those who are interested in finding out and learning more of my raw, uncensored behind the scenes content as well as reactions to my videos, I now have a community page here, as you can see, where you guys can all join. So feel free to check it out and I'll see you in the video.
Who are you voting for?
I gotta know who the run-ups are. Like if somebody was running for election, then I gotta know who they are.
Trump and Kamala.
Thank you. Presidential election. Both of them.
How are you gonna vote for both of them?
Let me see an easy way to spell it. How did Christ sacrifice his life? So that everybody could live. Came to save who? Those two, right?
So if you had to choose one though, who would it be?
If I had to choose you, if
No.
I had to use your measure and choose one, what would you think? I should choose you one, or your measure, or should I just use my heart and soul and wish us all?
Is there one candidate that has a policy that speaks more to you? Or what is your number one
I
concern?
haven't been listening. I haven't been hearing Twitter, what they did. You know, segregation is a word, it's a derogative, and that came from people and not a word. I don't know how to say it, but that has a lot to do with promotions, like record business. And I'll leave it alone from there.
Who are you guys voting for?
Green Party.
Green Party?
I think I'd vote Kamala.
Kamala?
Honestly, I think it's all corrupt. But Kamala, because let her try. You know? But I'm not an American citizen, so
Yeah, I don't really have much great input on this because I'm not American.
So you guys,
But
have you looked at the candidates at all? Like, do you know much about them?
Yeah, a little bit.
no.
All right, you haven't, okay. But for you, why Harris?
Human decency,
Okay.
honestly. I think that like in terms of like a better like civilization and a leader, like she has those qualities. You know, I think Trump is great for the economy, absolutely. I don't really know enough to give like a full input on that, but I would say like I'm kind of like hovering around the middle in like my perspective of
Okay.
politics.
Yeah.
But in terms of human decency, I think Kamala definitely needs to.
Now, Trump's
be
a bad
elected.
person.
Yeah.
And let a woman be the president.
Yeah.
So from the outside looking in, being Canadians, when you guys see this election, what stands out to you?
It's a circus. It's a fucking circus. Yeah. It's a circus. But like the thing is, it's so important. Like you think about like the next 4 years and the trajectory of like what is going to happen with like civilization. Like you look at like leadership and you look at people and like you need somebody that has like this really conformed like state of mind where they're like in power and like coming from a good place, and that comes with the people. Like the people are what makes a great country, a great state, a great province, Canada speaking. And to be honest, like I think Trump is not a prime leader. I think he's
a little rough around the edges, isn't he?
Yeah.
Trump is a little rough around the edges. Kamala looks better on paper, but I don't know.
What on paper does she look good on?
She's more presidential seeming.
Yes,
Is
I
it?
absolutely. I agree.
I think.
Wholeheartedly.
Isn't Kamala like a big advocate of like the gay community?
Yes, of course. And that's so important.
That's huge.
It's so important. It's so important.
Yep. Yeah. Trump's a little rough around the edges.
Of course.
Who would you vote for?
Harris.
Why?
Well, because I hate Trump. He doesn't know anything about politics whatsoever. It's only his interest in everything. And I'm a woman, so that explains everything.
What about him do you hate exactly?
That he's anti-women in general. He doesn't want to give us our rights, the basic rights that we need, that just to make a decision about our bodies ourselves.
So how do you draw that conclusion? Is it because of what you've heard or what you've read? What makes you say that exactly?
What he has done at the Supreme Court, and identifying those 3 justices, and they were the one mainly making the Roe v. versus Wade completely go away.
And what would you say is the number one policy concern for you?
I want to say women's right for sure.
Who are you voting for?
Kamala Harris.
Why?
Well, she's the better choice over Donald Trump for me, so it's really that simple.
Why though?
Well, I just don't agree with Donald Trump's politics or his morality, so I far more aligned with Kamala Harris than Donald Trump. So
when you say morality and politics, let's dive a little deeper there. What about those exactly?
Well, I mean, for a guy who's been twice impeached, I mean, a convicted felon, you know, all the sort of stuff he's been doing in office, I'm voting for Kamala Harris.
And what would be your number one policy concern?
As far as policy concern for me, climate change is a big one for me. And I'm worried that if Donald Trump is in office, his climate policy, well, he doesn't have one, so that worries me. That concerns me.
And then if you compare the last 4 years of Biden to the last 4 years of Trump, what stands out?
I mean, I can just remember the 4 years of Donald Trump. I was in high school when he was elected in 2016. And I just remember how crazy it all felt for those 4 years. And for Biden, I mean, it was almost like back to status quo of, you know, you kind of forget to even keep up with stuff. With Donald Trump, it was like, you know, you were glued to it, but you were so shocked by what you were seeing. So
you'd say behavior-wise, what about just from like policy standpoint, like how was, I guess, your personal life, maybe talking economy or things of that nature with Biden compared to Trump?
I mean, the one thing about Biden, you know, he tried to get the student loan thing passed through. Of course, it was blocked by the Supreme Court, but I appreciate that because at that time I was in college and I was kind of looking forward to having my student loans wiped. That didn't work out, but I mean, I appreciate that from Biden very much.
And then when you get your news, where do you go to get informed on this?
I sometimes do newspapers, mostly like online for the most part, or CNN or, you know, stuff like that.
What would be the main one? CNN, what else?
CNN, I'll read articles from Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, you know, stuff like that.
Who are you voting for?
Kamala Harris.
Why?
I honestly really don't have a true reason.
What's that?
I don't have a true reason.
You don't have a true reason, so what makes you choose her versus Donald Trump?
Just because of what I hear and everybody else's opinion, and I'm leaning towards what they're saying about her than what they're saying about him.
When you say everyone else, are you talking about like mainstream media sources, your friends, your family? Who's influencing that?
Kind of everything in a whole. So my family, friends, social media, just...
Is there anything you have against Donald Trump that makes you not want to vote for him?
No.
So it's essentially comes down to that you're taking what your friends and family are saying in the news and you're just like, I'm just gonna ride with this because that's what they're saying.
Pretty much.
How would you describe the last 4 years under Biden versus the last 4 years of Trump?
I haven't really seen too much of a difference.
What would be your number one policy concern?
Really don't have any. I don't necessarily know, to be honest with you. I don't really complain about it. I just roll with it. Whatever's going on is what I just have to do. Kind of is what it is.
Who are you voting for?
Kamala Harris.
Why?
Strongly believe in moving forward with the next step of Biden's plans, and really gives me a lot of belief with the country.
How would you compare the last 4 years of Biden to the last 4 years of Trump?
I think particularly with nationwide crises, with Black Lives Matter, the handling of the protests, with the COVID-19 pandemic, and then the January Capitol riots, I think all speak poorly to his term there.
So would you say that things have been better under Biden compared to Trump?
Yeah, I would.
How would you say in terms of like policy would be your number one concern?
Moving forward, definitely the handling of the current economy. So both most recently the change of interest rates, as well as support given to small local businesses and taxation. So that's, I think, most pivotal.
And would you say that Biden compared to Trump's, which was better in your opinion for your career and what you were doing?
The bounce back my portfolio has seen since the pandemic has been impressive, especially compared to the world. So I'm all in favor of Biden.
and what news outlets do you go to find information on the candidates?
Mixture. AP, Reuters, cable media, not so much, but more so online news outlets.
Do you think Trump's a threat to democracy?
He is very good at playing in the gray area. His election alone won't topple America as a republic or democracy, but there's definitely some concerning aspects to his administration.
Who are you ladies voting for?
Kamala Harris.
And why?
Probably because I really resonate with her policies, and then it just very stark. Like a lot of people say that they're more similar than alike, like the two candidates. But I think that there's such like a huge juxtaposition between like Donald Trump versus her that I genuinely think that like it makes her look so much better as a candidate for me. I feel like if it was her and like maybe another candidate, like I know like when we were growing up it was Mitt Romney, like I feel like that would be a little bit more different of a decision for me to make because I am independent, but now that it's such like a stark contrast between like somebody's character and then like Kamala's character, I think it's like I want her to run the country. I want her to meet like international prime ministers from other countries. I want her to meet I want her to be the face of America, not the other.
I agree with her.
So is it fair to say a lot of it has to do with character? That's your number one concern?
I think so, because I think that there's plenty of people in government running, and there's a lot of people think that the president has the entire say of it, like in government, but that's not true. Like they have a bunch of people on the team, and who's building the team? They are, right? So if her team is a bunch of yes men, or if the president's team is a bunch of yes men, they're not going to get any work done, not real change. And I know that she's going to pick a good team, a good cabinet to help make America better.
How would you compare the last 4 years of Biden's cabinet compared to Trump's cabinet? This goes for both of you. You feel free to come in here too.
Yeah, so I think like a big thing is just like how they handle government data. I think like what's happening with a whole like the entirety of Trump's indictment is just like how he handled very sensitive government documents. Some of them are like literally in his like golf course in Florida, and it just like, is that how we're gonna be handling our government secrets, our government policies? Like I want it to be in like trusted hands. I want it to be secure, not everywhere where it's not supposed to be. So I think that's one of the bigger things. Like the cabinet's responsible for that as well, and they didn't take care of it either. So. And
then if you could say like the number one policy concern, what would it be?
Abortion for me. Yeah.
And what about abortion exactly?
It's not even abortion. It's just like the care that we get as women. We're literally just coming from a tech conference for just women and non-binary people, and it's like, of course, that's not a conversation that we're having. I think most of the conversations we're having are on tech, and there weren't even a lot of healthcare companies at this place. But something that I really care about is healthcare and having equal access and opportunity to all these things. Because if you knew about it, Donald Trump has definitely paid out for plenty of abortions. Don't quote me on that, allegedly, right? But it's just the fact that it's the people who are able to get away with it, they get the abortions. But the people who don't have the money to support a kid, or don't have the money to constantly be on birth control pills, or don't have the money to get regular checkups at the doctor, don't have the money for IVF, they need the support from the government to be able to have a family, to be able to plan ahead for stuff like that. So I think honestly it all comes down to money at the end of the day, and it's crazy that we aren't giving access to like basic health care, and it's being taken away by just state by state basis. I don't know.
And would you say, what do you not like comparing to Trump's abortion stance?
I just like don't like the idea that something like this, where it's like it can be given to, it's like honestly a lot of the healthcare policies that he's wanting to put in place and has put in place, like I don't really resonate with, just because letting the states decide, I think that's really weird, because people move all the time, and then also like doctors in certain states aren't practicing in that state because they want to give abortions, or it's like, it's just really weird when it comes to like stuff like that, where it's like letting the state decide means that just the country as a whole it's kind of like also goes back to the topic of like insurance, where like what JD Vance was just talking about. Sorry, this is like a little bit of a tangent, but JD Vance was just talking about in his like in debate with Tim Walsh. What's his name? Walsh, right? I don't know how to pronounce it. And he was saying that he was basically going to make it so that you don't have to. The whole point of insurance is that you cover for other sick people, so that in the future, if you get sick, you don't have to pay as much of a premium. And it's basically negatively impacting people who already have like chronic diseases or chronic illnesses. And the whole point of universal healthcare is for you to be able to offset that cost for other people. And I get it, not everyone's altruistic, not everyone wants to help out with others, but you also have to imagine this selfishly too. Yeah, right now you're not sick, right now you're not all this stuff, but in the future you might be, and what, you're gonna have to pay all that premiums like up front. Like, no, it's like it's for everyone, and that's the whole point. If you leave it up to the states, it's just like, even working in corporate, having to deal with all that legislation, you're gonna have to deal with like healthcare companies are gonna have to deal with where they're sending their birth control pills to, depending on the state. It just brings in so much like extra nonsense that we really don't need to be doing. It can just be like care to care basis. Like, it really doesn't have to.
So you'd prefer, fair to say, on a federal level, you'd rather have it on a federal level controlled rather than on a state smaller scale?
Of course, because I think like that's the whole point of us voting in national elections. It's not like, if you want something to happen in your state, vote in your state elections, but that's the thing, not many people do. The whole point is for us to be voting in a federal elections for things that impact us like as a community, Americans as a whole.